Hi, this is Clip Studio Paint. It's my favorite program. I use it for everything like digital art, illustrations, comic work, and even digital photography. It's the only program that I use like that. But even the best can be enhanced, and I enhance it with custom brushes and with auto actions. And today I want to show you really what you can do with auto actions. So the auto actions effectively save a set of actions that you perform and then allow you to play them back. And you might think this is just going to save you a few clicks, but actually I use it to really try to enhance the software even further. So I have a lot of auto actions. There'll be in this auto action palette on the left, but I can always drag the ones that I use frequently into other parts on the workspace. I can drag them onto the command bar. I can command them. I can put them onto this navigator, selection navigator. I can put them onto the quick access palette. If I stick them over here, over an icon, it will effectively create a list below that. And that's a good way of putting auto actions on, is to make little lists in these two bars. Okay, so let's have a look at a few actions. See if you find them interesting. So let's say I wanted to do a printout of just this face at the bottom here, and I might have a selection around that face, but there isn't a way to print a selection. If I go print, selection doesn't show up, but you can add that via an auto action. Here's one here at the top. Let me click that, and that's automatically given me just that bit there. I can click OK. There's my print preview. I'm going to cancel out of that for now because I don't need it. But anyway, once it's finished, it just comes back to that. It's quite simple code, so it's a good starting point, and it's a very useful piece because, for example, you could blur the edges of that selection and then get a sort of a vignetted picture as well. Various other things you could do with that. So the code for that, if we can call it code, is that create an action and give it a name, and then merge visible to new layer. So this is what it's going to record. That'll be this thing here. Merge visible to new layer. So it's going to take the whole lot, and then I go edit copy, and then I delete that layer so that I've just got what I've copied. So if there was a selection, it's going to copy the selection. If there wasn't a selection, it'll copy the whole page. And then I create a new page by going to File, here File, Create New from Clipboard, which will be just that selected area. And I print, and then I close it without saving. Simple as that. Very easy, but very useful first action to do, I think. Okay, let's get rid of that a moment. Show you. I've got ones also for lots of different things, such as drop shadows, which common technique. So I can hold down the control key and click on that. Text, but it doesn't just work on text. I could just create a selection anywhere. Selection tool here. Then on the selection bar here, I've got here drop shadow. And this makes use of the motion blur so that I can use the strength of the motion blur to change how big a shadow I'm going to get. And I can change the angle of it like that. Okay. And there's my drop shadow. And I've put it on a separate layer so that I can always switch it off or change its opacity or change its color or make it a dot pattern or whatever I would like to do with it. Okay. So I also use this with photography, so I can do work on a photograph. I might want to make it a little bit more artistic by maybe this water sketch technique. Or I can do some oil brushing of it. I can emphasize the brushing with one of these multiple types of edge effects I've got here. This is an acrylic edge. Make it look much more brushed. But I think at this point I want to talk about lines. You can convert a photograph to lines, to a line drawing. There are two ways in Clip Studio. One is to use the filter effect, artistic, and then there's a line feature in that. And that will give you a line drawing that looks pretty well like that, which is useful for certain purposes, but not in every case. It's also got a line extraction thing over here in the layer properties, and it'll give you some line drawing that's a bit like that. But I've got an auto action that will do a different kind of line drawing, which I think I generally find more useful. I'll run that one. And here I can just determine how much, how dark it gets, as it were, how many lines I'm going to get in there. You can get a few little speckles, but I've got a little routine for getting rid of those if I want as well. It's quite a nice technique. I'll come into this later and show you how these can not just be used as singly, but used in combination to produce really high quality line drawings. Okay, just to show you another photograph where I've used my line drawing techniques to render it to that, and then I just add a bit of my own drawing on top of that. Just an example. Okay, so here's a digital painting I've done, and again, what I could use this water sketch, make it look a little bit more watercolory. I've got actions that will allow me to do it, make it look more like an oil painting. Just get rid of that one for now. Or some stranger ones like this plastic one here. which will make it look like it's wrapped in plastic. Or some simple ones to give particular color schemes that I use regularly. This was there. Use this golem green one here. So I can do that, and then I'll get this this bubble brush and just a few of these in. And now we're underwater. Here's another one I could use. I've got a pencil sketch routine. And I can use the blending modes then to make this merge in different ways with the image below. And I'm going to hover the cursor over the blend modes, and then I'm going to turn the wheel on my mouse, and it'll just go instantly between these different blend modes and get all sorts of different effects. Choose which one I like. There'll be something as intense as that, or I can go right down to brightness and effectively get a colored pencil effect. So you see what I'm doing with these artistic filters that I'm building using auto actions is that I'm always creating them on another layer. This means that they are non-destructive, the original image is unchanged, but also then I can use this blending mode, 20 blending modes each time, to have all manner of different versions effectively of that artistic filter effect. And then I could apply another artistic filter on top of that and on top of that and blend them all effectively together. Let's go this one. So let's have a look at a couple of effects on this image. Just again, digital painting. Let's start off with a special pointer list one. And having got to this point, it offers me up this control here, and from here I can make all kinds of different effects. Increase the saturation, change the hue a bit. So I've gone from that to that. So I can go from there to smear Brussels, which gives it effectively runs like a light brush strokes over it, so that then I get something like this. And I'm going to have an acrylic edge, make it pop. Now it looks much more painted. Another way for getting that more painterly look, and this is a very flexible technique. Note that you can't use the materials palettes during an action. So for this one, you have to sort of prepare it before running the action. So I'm going to pull in a texture. I could actually pull in any image, another like a photograph, another painting, anything. And And whatever images I'm putting above the main picture, it's going to use that as the seed for how it's going to provide brush strokes on this image. So then I'm going to go here to daubs from texture layer. Yes, this is another action, and it's just going to go through this very quickly. And now it's going to produce it as a set of sort of painterly daubs, which again I can emphasize the edges of, something like that. Okay. So I've got one last one then. This is a really rubbish picture. Can I do anything with that? Yes, I can. Here's something called explode. And then I'll use these blending modes to go through and make it all manner of horrific pictures. So the general technique for these artistic filters is here. So I create a new action, give it a meaningful name, start the recording. Oops, so look, that's that red button down here. Create a copy of the current image on a new layer. Let's have a look what that might be. So typically something like merge visible to new layer, copy it to the clipboard, delete that layer, then paste it back. This allows me to make it so that it's an action that's going to work on the whole page if there isn't a selection, or on the selected area if there is a selection. And then I give this temporary layer a temporary name. I'll come back to that later. And then I move on to make whatever changes I like to that, to give it some artistic effect. And what have I got available to me? Well, not the tools. If I want to do something with the tools, then that's where I have to make custom brushes. But what I can do is to change it in a number of ways, and the big ones are to use things like on the edit menu. Well, anything from cut down to canvas properties can be changed and recorded in an action. Layers, anything that you do on this layer menu will be recorded. Anything you do in the layer palette will be recorded. Anything you do in the layer properties will be recorded. Anything you do in the selection menu will be recorded. And anything you do with any of the filters will be recorded. So you've got all those kind of available to you to make changes. At the end, then I merge the effects into a single layer if possible, set it to its best blend mode, and give it a final meaningful name. And then this circle at this point will have turned to a square because it's recording. I'll click it to stop the recording. Okay, so I made some mention about naming, because effectively during the process of doing this, if I'm creating any new layers, I don't really want the system itself to create those layer names, because if that happens, I might find that the next time when I play this auto action back, the layer names may have different names, and then things can go wrong. In fact, if anything goes wrong with an auto action, it's usually going to be something to do with layer navigation. So if I hadn't renamed something, I went from ink to layer 2 copy 2, and deleted it. If I then play it back and that doesn't exist because this time around it's layer 1 copy 2 or something, then it's going to go it's not going to move from ink. It can't find it, so it just stays there, and it will delete the ink layer instead. So that's the sort of thing that'll go wrong if you're not careful with your naming convention. By giving it a name right at the end, a permanent name for that final layer right at the end, it means that it's not going to get fooled by previous versions of that same action that you may have run. So maybe I've run drop shadow multiple times. I don't want the running of one drop shadow auto action to interfere with the next time I use it. So if I name that just at the end, then they'll be safe. The only other way to move between layers during the recording of an auto action that is safe is to go up here, layer, change selected layer, layer above or layer below, and step one point at a time up or down. And there are shortcut keys for that as well you can use. Okay, but that's the basic principle of behind all these artistic filters. Finally, I'll show you what I do for comic work, and we'll start off by creating a page. Now, all the usual kind of pages that I use, I've recorded an action during the entire page creation process to start me off, so that with a single click I can create this. So in this case, a comic page. And here I'm going to make use of these two icons here, which are auto actions. And effectively it keeps in step the bit inside the frame and the bit that's outside the frame, and allows me to switch from one area to the other. So I don't have a lot of layers. I try to keep this as simple as possible when doing comic work. I don't even have a draft layer for thumbnail sketches or something, because I'm using, again, as part of the template here, I'm using a paper that's not quite white, it's slightly grey, which stops it glaring at me, which I quite like. But at the same time I can use white. Sorry, what am I doing? Here we go. I can use white. Helps if I've got a pen. Selected, there we go. Right, I can use white to do my under sketching, whatever it might be, and then later on I can draw some figure based on that. And then if I want to get rid of the under sketching, I can just use convert brightness to opacity, and it's gone. So consequently, yeah, very few layers. I'll just clear that out. So let's say here I split this up into multiple panels, and there's my inking one where I might ink here, and then I can click out, and it's readjusted its mask so that I can now draw here and there, and there. Okay, now let's say I decide I don't need a couple of these panels. And again, it's automatically adjusted. So now in the outer area, I can put in images maybe that bleed out to the outside of the page, past the safe areas. And let's try the other thing that I was going to come to that saves me a lot of time, and that is using photographs to draw backgrounds for me. Backgrounds take a lot of time. Time is money. And I've got a big bank of photographs that I could use. So I'm going to just select this outer area, file, import image. Go to an image that I like to use. That one, will that do? Yeah, it'll do. Skew, there we go. Let's make it like that. Do. Now I go over here, comic photo, and this is making use of two forms of line drawing. One of which is the artistic filter. And under filters here. That's going to be a really detailed picture. If I want, I can make things in the background recede a bit, because I can just go to the line width, correct line tool like that. And maybe the ones in the distance here, I'll reduce down a bit and make it fade even further away. Similarly, I could bring things in the foreground forwards a bit by increasing their line width. Like that. And then maybe I use a brush just to add some additional effects if I want. And there we go. And then I can draw a figure maybe on this rooftop and so on, title across. Let's go to the ink part. I'll put one in here as well. Again, import image. Save that one. Like that. Comic photo. And it draws it all in for me. And you can see by combining the line drawing techniques, the combination in the end gives an extremely high quality line drawing from a photograph that is easily suitable for use. And that's if I'd drawn these by hand, copied them by hand, it would take hours. So this is a really major time-saving technique. Okay, I hope you found that useful. Trying to think, did I think I did show you the code for the line there? There's my own line drawing technique, line filter, if you want to use it. This middle section of it is optional. It's a way of getting better black areas. But if you wanted it to be mainly lines and not much in the way in black areas, you can leave this middle section out completely. But those are effectively the steps that I use to create that line filter. I hope you found that useful. And that it encourages you to write some of your own auto actions. If you're interested in mine, they are available together with my brush set. So I'll leave a link below this video, but I'd really encourage you to have a go yourself at making some interesting effects using auto actions. Thank you for watching.